friendly discussion.
No, I know.
There's no personal animus between us. It's just I don't agree with your views. You're very good at giving reason, rationale for losing population and higher state income tax. And now I'm going to ask you about the homeless population.
After 10 years, we reduced the street population by 33%. You know what? I'm proud of the fact we established the goal. We did it with the Bush administration, with Republicans. This state has not made progress in the last 2 decades as it relates to homelessness.
Why?
Because housing costs are too high, our regulatory thickets are too problematic, localism has been too impactful, meaning people locally are pushing back against new housing starts and construction. I've been here 4 years. I can't make up for the fact in 2005, we had an historic number of homeless under Republican administration.
Right now you have a proposal.
I just got 68,000 people off the streets last year. And by the way, that's been PolitiFact, 68,000.
Gavin Newsom joins Sean Hannity on his show, and he jumps right into the homelessness issue in California, which seems like he detailed some pretty decent issues as the reasons behind it. But then again, what is being done around it? In talking to Sean Hannity, he's just thinking he's going to get a couple of pinpointed gotchas here, and maybe can make him look bad. But it seems like Gavin Newsom showed up ready to discuss. As a matter of fact, even one of the more embarrassing things that he's done, that party he had during the COVID lockdowns, that definitely made national news. He also asked him about that.
By the way, you probably shouldn't have gone to the French Laundry. Just saying.
No, it was a dumb mistake. It was a terrible mistake. It wasn't illegal. It was wrong, and I totally violated the spirit of what I was preaching, and it was wrong, and I own that. I own that. And you know what? For the grace of God, no one else has ever made a mistake. I guess I did. I own that.
Okay, everybody makes mistakes. However, that was a dumb one.
But it was dumb.
It was,
and I own it. So I don't need to be reminded of it.
Close quarters, no mask, and I'm like, all right.
It was.
Hey, look, by the way,
right.
I think it was your birthday party, right?
It was a good friend's 50th birthday party. The restaurant was legally open. It was dumb.
So he's willing to admit it was dumb. It was a 50-year-old friend's party. We were just hanging out. Yeah, I ignored all the things that we were talking about, and it received all this criticism. But I feel like those things end up being surface, at least until he runs for some other different office, which I expect that he probably will. If you guys forgot, this is an image from that dinner, where it was at French Laundry, very fancy, up in Napa, and they were hanging out. It seemed like quite elitist while everyone else was struggling mentally, economically, and physically with everything that was going on at the time. So it was a bit of an issue. So John, before we get to a few other points, because Gavin Newsom made a bit of a comeback on some of these points he was talking. But first, the reason I wanted to even talk about this with you was that I feel like many people consider this, but Gavin Newsom is of course primed to set up to be one of the next Democratic leaders as far as nationally, and maybe going to be running for president. So is this a setup type of thing to start that motion, even though we're still just looking at 2024?
Yeah, look, I don't know if it's a move towards this race or a move towards the next one, but it's a part of an ongoing strategy. He has been working for the last year or two to make himself much more of a national figure. He's picking national feuds. He's fighting with Ron DeSantis. There's almost no reason to be fighting with the governor of a state on the exact opposite side of the country, except that Ron DeSantis gave him a good excuse by shipping, undocumented migrants over. He's going on national news to the extent that Fox News is, and he's also trying to reassure, Democrats that he's willing to mix it up and he's not scared of them. Democrats have become really sick of, Democrats that are not going to actually fight back and defend themselves. Well, he's taking it to Republicans. He's going on Fox News. That's what this branding is about. That doesn't mean that I'm necessarily buying it. I liked his apology up until, I guess I'm the only one that ever made a mistake or whatever. I'm the a-hole. Like, way to drain all of the sincerity out of your apology for that. But I did like his response to the unhoused question. I thought he did a good job of listing some of the policy, things that lead to increased homelessness. That doesn't mean that I necessarily trust him to be the guy that's actually going to fix those problems, but at least he can list the contributing factors.
If he points out the problems, at least that's the way you can hold his feet to the fire and fixing them. If you point out what you know is the problem and then do nothing about it, then it can be one of those things where people say, so what's the disconnect here? You mentioned his fight with Ron DeSantis. He also got into that with Hannity as well. Watch that.
They were told they had jobs. They told they were going to get certain court dates changed. They were dropped off. They knocked on the door and they left, and it was not coordinated. I mean, what kind of faith tradition allows for
there is a videotape of the people getting on the plane.
Because they were all lied to and told, you're being taken care of, everything's going to be great. I would be proud and happy.
Then because
by the way, I have the RFP.
Because they landed in your sanctuary state, you're going to take care of them. They should be happy.
On this way, the 4th largest economy in the world. We can handle all of this. Okay, I'm a border state. Ron DeSantis is not. I know he's desperate to get into the action.
No, because a lot of people
belly flop. Donald Trump is going to clean.
Is it
his
fair
clock.
that Joe Biden?
DeSantis has belly flopped. He will clean his clock. He needs
I don't have a crystal
attention, and he set this up months ago by doing an RFP. I have the contractors.
Okay, my question
that he tried to hire, saying he was going to send people to California. This is a stunt. It's embarrassing.
I think a lot of times what Sean Hannity isn't expecting is the response that has something behind it. And that's what I'm gonna go to in this last clip. Because then again, he was asking about the things with the migrants that were fooled and tricked by a few of these Republican governors and sent to sanctuary states. And he said, yo, we're cool, we can handle that. But the problem is how you're now using people. Like they think there's this singular argument for it because they've been talking to their viewers who just listen to the one singular thing they keep saying and beating into their heads. So when you get challenged with other aspects of it, as you also pointed out, John, with the homelessness issue, Hannity had to sit there and kind of nod a little bit like, wait, there's other points here. He's buying his own BS. So lastly here, Newsom had to counter Hannity on how employment under Joe Biden's administration, also other things that he's dealt with, is actually looking better than Republican administrations. And we always know this, but it seems like no one ever really effing says it. Watch.
I don't want him to fail.
Been able to accomplish.
I think his policies are failing.
Let's talk about them in order. Let's talk
hang on.
Wait, but I want to challenge the premise. You said the economy, 13.1 million jobs he's created. More.
These are post-COVID jobs. Okay. You know that. I mean, that's an artificial number.
But no. Then let me stipulate this as an opportunity to engage civilly on this.
Okay.
Fair point. Your president, Donald Trump, lost 2.6 million jobs during his 4 years. We've created 13.1 million. Fine, you can maintain a COVID frame. How about the fact that Joe Biden's created more jobs, 6 times more jobs than the previous 3 Republican presidents combined? It was 70% under Trump. That was 70%. It was 70% under Donald Trump.
Pre-COVID, we had the lowest unemployment rate for every demographic.
We have the lowest black unemployment in history, and you and I are living with the lowest unemployment in our lifetime, Sean.
We had it for every demographic, and the economy was
black unemployment's record low under Joe Biden.
Okay.
Again, John, there's layers to these arguments, and Hannity keeps going, that's fake, and he has to stop and go, well, let's talk about it. Talking about is never the part that many of these conservative pundits ever want to actually do. And honestly, it's making this guy look better. And this is what we have to understand. We're these needlehead pundits that like to follow everything that all these politicians talk about and lie every day. So of course we can see the holes in the things that Gavin Newsom says. But the majority of Americans don't. If they see something like this, the stars in their eyes, bro. I think it might work for them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, whether we're needlehead pundits or not, and speak for yourself, needlehead. Definitely Fox viewers are not hearing that information. It was good. I think he did a good job. There's some other stuff that you could have thrown in there that might have worked, might have not. Is it relevant to point out that, unemployment was at its lowest rate in the final months of Donald Trump before the pandemic? Because it had also been on average going down for years and years and years and years and years. That was a trend that goes back multiple presidencies. He can try to claim the tail end of it if he wants or whatever, but we did still have the pandemic. And I understand that that's gonna stand out, it's gonna seem distinct, but can we also stop pretending that it's like an earthquake? It's not an act of God. The pandemic was always gonna do some economic damage. The question is how much? And the question is, how much did Donald Trump's complete lack of interest in warding off the worst consequences of the pandemic early on make it worse? This is a guy who's going around the country encouraging people to not test and talking about bleach and putting lights in people's body. Is it possible that maybe we wouldn't have lost so many jobs if literally any other president, any other Republican had been president at that point?
All I'm saying, man, is look out for Gavin Newsom, 2028. Maybe even 24.
Huzzah.
We'll see. We'll see how the investigations from those Republicans go into Hunter Biden.
Yeah, well, and I'll say, Jayar, I think he will make a very good second place contender that gets beaten by AOC. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. I look forward to that. It's an AOC Gavin ticket.